Endgame? In just 7 days, Israel has launched a series of unprecedented military operations, striking across multiple fronts: Yemen, Lebanon, and even Doha, Qatar. For the first time in recent history, the war has stretched beyond Gaza and Israel's immediate borders, targeting enemy infrastructure, command centers, and even leadership meetings abroad. These strikes are not just tactical, they are strategic signals to the entire region. Across Yemen, the Houthis face precise airstrikes aimed at crippling their military capabilities, while Israeli drones cause panic on Israeli soil itself. In Lebanon, Hezbollah's strongholds were struck, sending a warning north of the border. And in Qatar, the heart of diplomatic negotiations, Israel hit Hamas leaders plotting a ceasefire, a bold move that has stunned the world. But what does this mean for the region? Is Israel expanding its conflict as a show of strength, or is it racing toward an endgame no one fully understands? And with tensions now spanning 3 continents, can the Middle East avoid a full-scale escalation? Stay with us, because by the end of this video, you'll see the full scale of these operations, the strategy, the fallout, the human cost, and the unprecedented risks now facing Israel and its neighbors. This is not just a story of airstrikes and missiles. This is a story of shifting power, diplomacy under fire, and a war that could reshape the Middle East forever. But before we continue, please like and subscribe to our channel. To understand this week, we must look back. Israel has fought multiple wars on multiple fronts before. In 2006 against Hezbollah, in 2014 and 2021 in Gaza, and smaller operations across Syria and Lebanon. But history shows us that multi-front wars rarely stay contained. The difference now? The targets are no longer just in Gaza. The war has expanded beyond immediate borders, raising the stakes higher than ever before. And this week, history repeats itself, but in ways no one expected. The first major escalation this week came from Yemen. Israeli airstrikes targeted Sana'a and Al-Jawf provinces, aiming at Houthi military camps, weapons depots, and fuel storage facilities. The strikes reportedly killed 46 people, leaving over 160 injured. But these weren't ordinary attacks, they were precision strikes intended to send a warning. And while the Houthis retaliated, the shockwaves of these strikes reached Israel itself, showing that modern conflicts are no longer confined to battlefields. The most audacious strike came in Doha, Qatar. Israel targeted senior Hamas leaders meeting to discuss a ceasefire proposal. Among the casualties were 5 Hamas operatives, including the son of Khalil al-Hayya, a senior negotiator. This is the first time Israel has struck leadership outside Gaza or Lebanon, highlighting a bold expansion of its war strategy. By hitting leadership on foreign soil, Israel has rewritten the rules. But has it also provoked a backlash that could escalate the conflict regionally? Meanwhile, on Israel's northern border, airstrikes targeted Hezbollah positions in the Bekaa Valley and Hermel region. At least 5 Hezbollah fighters were killed. The strikes aimed at disrupting training camps and weapons storage, sending a clear warning. Any attempt to open a northern front will be met with lethal force. But Hezbollah is patient and capable. If it retaliates, the northern front could ignite into a larger, prolonged conflict. While new fronts open, Gaza continues to be a flashpoint. Ongoing Israeli strikes, coupled with Hamas rocket fire, have created a humanitarian crisis. Thousands are displaced, infrastructure is damaged, and essential services are disrupted. Even as new fronts expand, Gaza remains the tinderbox, and sparks from other fronts could ignite a larger conflagration. Israel's military relies on cutting-edge technology that gives it a unique edge in the region. From precision-guided missiles that can hit a moving target kilometers away, to F-35 stealth fighters capable of striking with surgical precision, Israel has turned technology into both a shield and a sword. Drones patrol the skies constantly, feeding real-time intelligence to ground forces, while cyber capabilities allow Israel to disrupt enemy communications command networks and even critical infrastructure remotely. This technological edge enables Israel to operate on multiple fronts simultaneously, from Gaza to Lebanon, Yemen, and even distant regions like Qatar. Each strike, whether in the air, on the ground, or in cyberspace, is coordinated with meticulous precision. But even the most advanced military is constrained by logistics and politics. Sustaining operations across several borders requires fuel, ammunition, spare parts, and continuous intelligence updates, all while balancing public opinion and international pressure. Precision-guided missiles such as the Spike and Delilah allow for targeted destruction of command centers and weapons depots, minimizing collateral damage. F-35 jets, often flying deep into hostile territory, deliver bombs with unprecedented accuracy while avoiding radar detection. Drones, both small tactical units and larger armed UAVs, provide persistent surveillance, strike enemy positions, and feed battlefield data to commanders in real time. Even Israel's cyber units have reportedly disrupted missile guidance systems, radar networks, and communication hubs of adversaries before physical attacks even begin. But here's the critical question. Technology alone cannot guarantee victory. Hamas, Hezbollah, and the Houthis have adapted, using underground tunnels, decoys, and hardened bunkers to survive precision strikes. Iran-backed groups employ swarm tactics and asymmetric methods that strain Israel's defenses. Multi-front warfare tests Israel's ability to coordinate strikes, rotate units, and maintain supply lines. Every misstep could be exploited. Moreover, political constraints add another layer of complexity. Each strike, drone surveillance, or cyber operation is watched by international media, regional governments, and global powers like the United States and the UN. Misjudging the timing or scale of an attack could spark global condemnation, sanctions, or diplomatic isolation. Israel must balance its operational objectives with political reality, a challenge as complex as any battlefield maneuver. How does Israel strike multiple targets at the same time without losing control? The strikes have not gone unnoticed. Across the Middle East, leaders are watching closely, and voices of warning are growing louder. Iran condemned Israel's actions as provocative and destabilizing, warning that any further escalation could trigger regional retaliation. Turkey, long a mediator in regional disputes, expressed concern over civilian casualties and called for immediate de-escalation. Egypt, sharing a border with Gaza, urged restraint while scrambling to manage humanitarian corridors and prevent a wider crisis. Saudi Arabia, too, issued statements emphasizing the need for dialogue and warning that the conflict risks drawing the entire region into instability. Beyond the Middle East, the world's major powers have stepped in. The United Nations Security Council convened emergency sessions, urging all parties to respect international law and avoid civilian casualties. Washington, balancing support for Israel with pressure for restraint, sent senior diplomats to the region, stressing that targeting political leadership abroad could provoke dangerous consequences. But in a war where Israel has targeted enemy leaders in Qatar and elsewhere, the traditional rules of engagement may no longer apply. Diplomacy, once a buffer against escalation, now competes with calculated strikes designed to dismantle command networks, send political messages, and disrupt enemy operations. Every attack overseas risks inflaming tensions with countries far beyond Israel's borders. The question on every leader's mind is clear. How far will Israel go before global intervention becomes unavoidable? And if the Houthis, Hezbollah, or Iran-backed factions retaliate simultaneously, could this ignite a wider regional war? The stakes are no longer local. They are geopolitical, a dangerous game of brinkmanship where every miscalculation could reverberate across continents. Could Israel's strikes abroad spark a wider regional war? Each decision this week could trigger a chain reaction across the Middle East. What if Israel's cross-border strikes trigger a full regional backlash? Let's imagine a scenario unfolding in real time. Immediate Arab mobilization. Within hours of the strike in Qatar, regional powers react swiftly. Iran declares it will defend its allies and begins mobilizing missile units along the Persian Gulf. Hezbollah, long pressured by the Lebanese government, secretly moves troops and positions long-range rockets near northern Israel. The Houthis in Yemen announce readiness to retaliate against Israel and its allies. Egypt and Saudi Arabia, while publicly urging restraint, quietly coordinate military and logistical support to allied factions. Coordinated Arab fronts. If Israel strikes Hezbollah or Iranian-backed positions, multiple Arab factions respond simultaneously. Hezbollah fires volleys of rockets into northern Israel. The Houthis launch drones targeting southern Israel and key energy infrastructure. Palestinian factions in Gaza increase rocket attacks, and Sinai-based groups take advantage of the chaos. Suddenly, Israel is facing a coordinated response across multiple fronts. Israel may have the technology, but can it defend against a united Arab? As the Arab forces press their advantage, Israel calls in reinforcements and begins large-scale airstrikes. The risk of miscalculation grows. Each strike could spark further retaliation, potentially drawing Egypt, Jordan, and other regional powers into direct confrontation. What started as isolated strikes now threatens to escalate into a regional war. Every reaction is measured. But in war, even careful plans can spiral out of control. In a worst-case scenario, Hezbollah and Iranian-backed militias coordinate with the Houthis and Palestinian factions, launching a synchronized offensive. Rockets and drones strike northern and southern Israel. Cyber attacks target Israel's military networks. Arab forces attempt to cut supply lines, and local insurgents engage Israeli units along the borders. Israel is now fighting on multiple fronts with enemy forces. Units along the borders. Israel is now fighting on multiple fronts, with enemy forces united in a rare, unprecedented coalition. Can Israel survive a coordinated Arab offensive on all fronts, or will it be forced into defensive chaos? Beyond military strategy, the human cost is immense. Hospitals are overwhelmed, families are displaced, and access to basic needs is limited. International aid organizations warn that if the escalation continues, a humanitarian disaster could unfold across multiple fronts simultaneously. As leaders maneuver and battle lines shift, the fate of civilians hangs in the balance, and the world is watching. Endgame? The week's events show Israel's willingness to expand its war across multiple fronts. From Yemen to Qatar, from Gaza to Lebanon, the conflict now spans the region. Diplomacy, retaliation, and escalation will determine whether this week marks the beginning of the end or the end of the beginning. The next week could decide the course of history in the Middle East, and we'll be tracking every move here on Battle Vault.